Hello, everybody. This is Josh, and welcome back. Just a couple of quick things to talk about today. I was not intending to review Disney Pixar's Luca when I went to see it in the theater. It's one of a few Pixar movies that have not had a theatrical release that they are re-releasing in theaters this month. I think Turning Red and Soul, maybe another one among them, but Luca is one that I wanted to see because I thought that it would be good fun. It's probably, well, I like Turning Red a lot, but so I'm going to try and see that one too. I might have missed it already. I don't know. But I don't think I thought I had anything to say about Luca. It's an inoffensive, cute, well-designed little animated film. But then when I watched it again in a theater, which is always a very different experience, I realized that first of all, I had slept through maybe half of the movie, because when I stream movies, I'm a dad and I sit on a big plush couch in the basement when I watch movies, and I often snooze. So that's not great. So it was nice to watch it with rapt attention and see the whole movie and see it with a crowd of, a lot of kids. But I was surprised to come away with things that I wanted to say. But I also, if you stick around, this is not exactly, a fresh zeitgeisty review, but if you stick around, I'm going to say a few things about my channel and my Patreon and my whole operation here. So Luca is a Disney Pixar movie that was released on Disney Plus. It was one of a series of movies that were launched, released on, premiered on streaming, to the chagrin of the filmmakers, I'm sure. I don't recall. I'm assuming it was pandemic related. I don't know if all three of these movies were not. There were some weird decisions being made at the time. But this particular film is directed by a gentleman named Enrico Casarosa, I believe is his name. And it tells the story of a young sea monster named Luca who meets another sea monster named Arturo. I saw this movie last night. Is his name Arturo? It's something like that, something Italianish. This is a movie that takes place at first in the waters around Italy, and then in a small, I believe, fictional harbor town called Porto Rosso, which is probably a Ghibli reference. So Italian stuff, cultural ephemera and accents and words and references and jokes permeate this movie, and it's cute. It's mostly good. The first time I saw it, again, I slept through part of it, it didn't completely hit for me, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was. Now that I've watched the entire movie, I'm more enthusiastic about its quality, but I also am able to articulate what I think the issues are with this movie. So we've got these two boys who are sea monsters, but when they come ashore, they turn into human form. That's just established, as a fact early on and not much discussed. As a little preview to my critique of this movie, there's not a whole lot of richness or definition to the sea monster world, surprisingly. I'll come back to that. But essentially we learn that Luca lives under the sea with his family. They are sea monsters, but when they come up on dry land, they assume the appearance of a human. He doesn't know this, but his encounter with this other boy, Arturo, I believe that's the character's name, he discovers this about himself. And the other boy is living above the surface and collecting things and talking about his dad, who has gone away on a trip, and he's waiting for him to come back in an animated movie. You know what that means. It's very whimsical. The two boys decide that getting a Vespa and riding it around the world is the most exciting idea they can think of. This is Italy, after all. And so they circumstances conspire, and they need to get as far away from the ocean as possible. So they go to this small town and they meet some of the kids in this town, Porto Rosso, a town that is defined by its hatred of sea monsters, and we kill sea monsters. And then in particular, they befriend a young girl, Giulietta. I might be wrong on all these character names. I don't know why. Maybe I have like some kind of Italian linguistic dysmorphia, because nothing sounds right when I say it in Italian. But and her father is one of the most notorious sea monster killers, or just sea monster haters. It's not very clear, because that's another one of the issues with this movie. The animation is delightful. Pixar is so good at texture and light And this movie, the other thing they're good at, which, early on there was kind of a Pixar look and feel. Maybe Brad Bird's work, maybe The Incredibles was the first movie to kind of stretch it beyond its limits of the kind of Lasseter, Stanton movies, the early movies, and kind of like really explore. And so I feel like since then, Pixar will wildly change their character design style, and this movie has a completely unique character design aesthetic. Almost feels like it's got its own like frame rate and its own like rules for how faces work. It reminds me of the Peanuts movie. Like, these don't look like Peanuts characters, but the way their mouths work and the way their chompy teeth work and the way they'll talk out of the side of their face, and if you see some of the behind the scenes material, you'll see the tricks they had to pull, the really crazy. And that's one of the great things. Early CGI character animation was so stiff and lifeless, and that's still the problem with it. Once they got comfortable enough with the tools to start to break the rules and stretch things and just make, like in hand-drawn animation, you stay on model until you're doing some kind of crazy motion or crazy reaction or crazy something, and then you go completely off model. There's a train, not editing out trains anymore. Famously, in The Simpsons, the kind of twister mouth thing, which they don't do that much anymore. But good, lively animation breaks its own rules in the name of like feeling and action and rhythm and whatever. Kudos on that here. The animation is exquisite. There are some hideous character designs. And for characters who maybe don't need to be hideous. Maybe his parents don't need to be gross. I don't know. I just feel like some of the characters, some of the choices in character design in animated films these days in general, I don't always understand why you wouldn't want characters to be aesthetically pleasing and why they're intentionally ugly. The villain of this movie, I don't remember his name, a braggadocious young man who always wins the Porto Cup race. He's hideous, and he's an odious character, so I guess that's the idea, but it's such an unpleasant character design I did not enjoy looking at. I've already talked about Luca way more than I intended to. I'll just get to my critique of the movie. And I didn't realize this until watching the whole thing in a theater and enjoying it. But as I was leaving, I realized, I know what doesn't work about Luca. In an animated film, if you're going to create a world of sea monsters, you would think that if an animated film was going to make a mistake or have an issue or have some kind of a gap or an asymmetry to it, it would be that the world of the sea monsters would be developed and exciting and rich and fun to be in for the first half of the movie. But then when you went to the human world for the second half of the movie, that would all be very familiar and boring, and they would not be creative, and it would just feel kind of like, I want to go back to the whimsical place that I've never been to before. And Luca has the opposite problem. The second half of the movie with the race and the kids and Porto Rosso, that is all so charming, so beautiful to look at, except for some of the ugly characters, and but so successful and interesting. But the sea monster world is somehow not. Like, they just gave it minimal amount of design and whimsy, and it's so flat. And I know they're trying to like show that these are normal, they're not crazy. Luca's a shepherd. He shepherds little fish. And he's just doing normal stuff that a kid would be doing up on the surface, I guess. But we don't get any lore. We don't learn a whole lot other than jokes about his family and about their society. So that was, I think, a real missed opportunity. Kudos on them for doing what most animated films don't do and making the human characters in the human world really appealing, really, really great. But and the story really picks up and is lovely. I guess I have one more critique, though, and that is everything wraps up in a snap. So these, the tension of this movie is that these two boys with a secret are stuck in an environment that, if it knew their secret, would surely destroy them. And all they see is pictures of people killing sea monsters, and they're staying in the house of a man who is notorious sea monster killer. And I'm not going to spoil the end of the movie, but it's an animated movie for families. So when everything works out in the end, the immediacy with which this entire society of this town drops their defining characteristic and are just like, oh, you know what? Sure. Okay. we'll find some other defining characteristic. We'll be fine. It's heartwarming and it's great and it feels good, but it's very, very like, I don't know, just like they didn't put in a lot of work with the world building and the sea monster, habitat in the beginning. I feel like the ending just rushes to that happy ending. I guess the only other thing worth acknowledging about this movie is how many believed, including myself when it came out, I believed that this was a queer allegory. It's two boys who have a secret that they discover together, but then the world is against them and they have to hide who they are, and it's about learning to be their true selves in front of the world and be accepted by the world. But the director has actually said, I didn't realize this until looking back at this, he said it's not intended to be. He's very happy for it to be. If it functions that way, it's great, but it was not created or intended to be that, which I find fascinating. But as others have pointed out, it may be because this movie came out either right on the heels of or at the same time as Call Me By Your Name, that maybe the weird similarities between the family Disney film and that film also maybe cause people to see something that was not intended. But anyway, that's way more time than I thought I was going to talk about Luca. So I'll be quick with the rest. I just wanted to say things are clearly entering a season of tension and change in my in my Patreon and my channel membership, as some people are jumping ship. Some people are hopping off of my Patreon and saying, I didn't sign up to see you review movies, where's the riffs or whatever. So I've already been trying some people's patience with the art. I have a new job with long hours, so sadly I don't draw as much as I used to. I'm really trying to find a way to work that back into my schedule for the few of you who do enjoy the art. But I'm really feeling a groove with this. Talking about movies is one of my favorite things to do, and I don't know why I didn't start doing this years ago. So I'm going to keep doing this, but I'm also going to keep riffing. If you like Fun with Shorts and the MST stuff, I'm going to keep that going. I have a short on the docket right now that I'm working on. It should come out soon after this video. I took a week off last week at the end of March, by the way. I just had some personal things that I am dealing with. I'm not going to make a video about that. Fun and smiles here on the channel. So I just wanted to say, I guess, if you are one of the new viewers who is finding my reviews, and not the guys who get angry. There's just these movie dudes who are just like, well, you're wrong, or I'll never watch you again, or you're an idiot. I get these comments now on my videos. But I also am getting some exit surveys as people kind of migrate away from my Patreon that are like disappointed, who've been there for a long time. And I'm sorry about that those kind of things just happen. I'm also sorry that I can't change my Patreon to a monthly fee. I would rather it just be $5, $2 or $5 or $10 a month if you want to support. I signed up years and years ago on a per post basis, and I can't change it. Patreon, I keep asking Patreon, is this feature going to change? Are you going to make it possible? Can I go to monthly? And sometimes they say it's coming soon, but now they just say no. So I'm sorry about that. But even $1 pledge, and you can cap it at whatever you want. Cap it at $4 or $5, $2 a month. Anything helps to keep this going. I really enjoy being on YouTube. I really enjoy making these videos. But YouTube, I'm a partner on YouTube, so I have ads on my videos. I'm sorry about that too. But I literally the threshold for getting paid for YouTube ads is $100, and I maybe get paid every other year. That's how little money I make because I have tiny viewership. I don't make money off of those ads. So I'm not looking to make money and get rich doing this. I just need to justify the time it takes me to make these videos and the resources it takes to keep this going. But I love talking about movies, and I'm going to keep doing it. So I invite you to my Patreon, patreon.com/JoshWay. I thank my patrons. There's this core of you that have been there for a long time. I just jiggled the camera. Sorry about that. And I'm so appreciative of your support and your friendship. It's it's such a small group that I feel like it's my buds. And I'm not always as good about interacting as I should be because I'm very busy, but I see everybody's comments and I try to acknowledge, and I'm deeply appreciative. If you like movie talk and silly commentaries and that kind of fun stuff, maybe stick around. This has been my video. I am Josh. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.